Yo, camera. And the red light is on. Okay, video. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, I did a walk and talk, and I really didn't get to this subject. So I decided to do this video instead. Because it's such a weird subject. But anyway, okay, it's this whole idea of the meaning of life, and it's for Perry Urban, it's reality versus reality, which doesn't make much sense. But I was also watching that, whatever, the bologna sandwich show, or whatever they call it. The Magic Sandwich Show channel. Thunderfoot and Friends. Yeah. But anyway, they had this one called The Meaning of Life, and I got through most of the parts. I haven't dived in and listened to the whole thing. They are pretty tedious people. But anyway, it was just very funny. And then you got Pierrot, who's, just living in this fantasy land where he's just making shit up all the time, and just, we're supposed to be doubtful about just the obvious stuff. I mean, if the human race is going to waste time trying to figure out whether the guy next to him is conscious or not, blow them up, please, 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 blow them up, please, please, press the red button, press it, please, please, please. I mean, if this is the nonsense people are going to occupy themselves with when we're living in this world where, tsunamis wipe people out, and nuclear power plants melt down, and the economic system is completely lopsided, and all the other crap that's going on, and that's not even getting into all the shit that's happening in nature right this fucking minute. The whole syndrome. If life doesn't kill you this way that's bad, it will kill you that way that is worse. I mean, it's just hideous, disgusting, grotesque. Anyway, I won't get into all that crap. But anyway, Thunderfoot was quite entertaining. It was this chick, this Sophie chick, the bug girl, I call her. But anyway, she's like a bug scientist. She was sort of making the point in this argument, because they ended up talking to that stupid, whatever his name is, that religious nut. And so it just became a conversation about why people believe in God. And, how can you have meaning if there's no God? And it's a valid question for a religious fucktard to ask, in the sense that, how can you have any kind of life-affirming meaning without God? Because it's going to be pretty hard to make that shit up. This is not a good game. Nature's not a good game. DNA is not a good game. It's survival by this crude, idiotic standard. Whoever's got the biggest teeth or the heaviest club. It's not, the standard isn't, who's got the most eloquent and, profoundly accurate, or whatever, perception of the universe. I mean, that's not how the game works. Well, anyway, so in the conversation, though, the chick was pretty depressive, like, okay, look, the world's going to blow up. I mean, the sun's going to do its supernova thing, the galaxy's going to, die, heat exhaustion, the whole thing. And Thunderfoot basically said it was like that was, he almost said preposterous. Or like it was almost and I want to get the term right. Just that it was an unrealistic prediction. That we don't have enough knowledge to know. And it was just so funny. He was just finding an excuse to say that somehow the human race is going to live forever. That was almost what he was trying to say. And it was just almost funny. It was laughable. I mean, there's a futility to this human thing. It's going to end. All of this is just for the ride, so to speak. That's a fact. There's no getting someplace. Alright? So in that sense, life is a journey, not a destination. But it's a stupid journey. It's an idiotic journey. Yeah. I mean, but that just popped into my head, so I'm going to mention it. But it pops into my head, so I got to get rid of it. And I should have just made a private video to Fred. But I'm figuring Fred, the reason why he shaved is probably because his mother died. And he was just doing, she probably hated the beard, so he shaved the beard off, for the funeral thing or whatever, and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, but his video has been way down lately, so, something must have happened. But anyway, that's the shit that pops into your head in the middle of a video, which is really annoying. Back to this subject, this meaning thing. See, that's where all the meaning is. The meaning is in what happens to these sentient creatures, and why somebody has to explain this. I mean, there's this other fucktard, this Mr. Shitty Fag, which of course his name is just so shitty that I don't even want to communicate with him just because he has such a shitty name. Why should we care about suffering of anyone? you have never answered this. I've answered it in hundreds of videos, hundreds of my videos are explaining why suffering matters. And the logic is just so simple. I mean, this is something I don't, why do I have to even explain this? Why should I have to explain this to people who can count to 4? I mean, this is something that was just, I don't even know how, I never existed not knowing this. That what I do impacts others. That was like the first thing I learned. Smash hammer on sister's head, sister cries. I mean, it was just so fucking obvious. And crying isn't good, and pain isn't good, and I just don't know how you can't do the simple calculation that why does your brain not want you to get hit by a car? Why does your brain not want you to get food poisoning? Because it's not fun, okay? And so if it's not fun for you, why would you think it's fun for somebody else? No, the obvious conclusion is it's not fun for them either. That their welfare is just as important as your welfare. You're not special. You're not unique. You're one of many. And not to be able to recognize that? I mean, how fucktard idiotic are you? Alright, so yeah, you can't hurt something else to gain your pleasure, because it'd be the same as hurting yourself or doing it to yourself. And that's the simple math. But this math seems to escape all these relativists. So like Perry Urban, he expects to have a conversation that means something, right? A meaningful conversation in a world where everybody gets to make up their truth. And he says it in his video, just, well, why are you trying to tell me what to believe? And why should, blah, 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 blah. Like we should all just accept each other's fables and fantasies. And that there's no distinction. We can't measure, there's no scale to put definitions of reality on. All definitions of reality are equal. So if you believe the world's made out of gingerbread, your belief is equal to Einstein's understanding of the mechanics of the universe. It's just nonsense. It's ludicrous, idiotic nonsense. We know things for certain. I mean, he brought up eating kids as an example, where society makes a determination, and we agree, and it's by consensus that we define the truth. No, you don't define the truth that way. You just consent, in a social contract to some sort of policy, and often those policies are based on dogma and idiocy. So consensus doesn't mean anything. That's no way to define the truth. The truth is, like everything else, is to be revealed. Like pi, like E equals mc squared. These are all equations defining how matter interacts in the world. And we can define value in the same way. We can just detect the relationship. We can understand that in a non-sentient world, there's no meaning. Because there's no value. Nothing can be harmed. Nothing can be advanced or enhanced or made better in any kind of reward kind of sense, in any kind of positive value kind of sense. And so it's only when there's sentient organisms do you have the capacity to create a negative. So if I create something that suffers perpetually and endlessly, that's going to be an obvious negative. There's no way for anybody to rationalize it. It's serving no purpose. I just created it so it would suffer. There's no circumstance that makes that okay. It's just unnecessary, pointless, wasted suffering. We can know that to be a negative. And contrarily, we can know that if somebody puts it out of its misery, that stops the suffering, prevents the suffering, eliminates the suffering, that's intrinsically a positive because it's the eraser of a negative. So from any relative position, that's always going to be true. But that's the only relativity in here, is the starting point. Where's the zero? Where's the neutral? And you're all presuming that the neutral is based on some sort of desire equation. So based on how much I want something defines how valuable it is, or whether it's worth having. And that's not the equation. You could want to do something that's incredibly reckless and dangerous, and it'll put other people at risk. The fact that no matter how hard you want it, it doesn't change the equation. The fact that it's too dangerous, because if you have it, it'll be at too high a price. You can want slaves, but obviously it's not right for you to own them. It's not, the value equation is broken, because you're going to cause more suffering than the value of your satisfied want could ever possibly be worth, by just simple logic. If you had to be the slaves, you would not raise your hand and volunteer to be the slave. You wouldn't volunteer to be the loser in your risk equations. So you would have no right to impose that risk. You wouldn't want your family killed by a drunk driver. So obviously you don't drink and drive. I mean, this logic is just so simple. I can't even... I mean, I just want to stop breathing. This is so ludicrous. I have to explain this to human beings, that there is something of value in the world, and that's where all meaning is derived from. So these big brains like Thunderfoot can't figure out that it's still science and still logic to sit there and analyze what we are, not where we came from, not take your orders from a DNA molecule. Survival for the sake of survival, that's retarded. You have to prove the survival's worth it. You have to show your merit. All right? In a rational contest, a syphilis microbe cannot prove its merit. It's going to lose. Smallpox is going to lose. All right? Because it's not going to do any fancy dance. It's not going to do anything special. It's not going to save anybody's life. It's not going to create a better world in any way for any sentient creature on Earth. All it's going to do is bring pain and suffering. And so it loses by that simple calculation. And when we do the simple calculation on life overall, it loses. And when we analyze the human race, even over the last 1,000 years, it's going to lose. If you add up all the suffering incurred and all the wars, I mean, the Civil War alone, you could go through all those horrors and say, how could we ever accomplish anything to justify all of those slow, miserable, hard deaths? So anyway, but that's the value equation. We could argue about where the zero is. We can argue about how much your satisfaction, the satisfaction of a frivolous, trivial desire is worth, versus how much some sort of real pain and suffering, enduring real horror, being a coal miner and having the mine fall on you and slowly dying over the next 12 hours. How much would I have to pay you to do that? Realistically. Like, so let's say I was going to give you some money. All right? Like, I can give you $1 billion in this life right now at the age you are. But the deal is that you're going to have to live the same life all over again. And instead of getting $1 billion, you're going to slowly die in a coal mine in China. Yeah, you're going to take the deal? I wouldn't. There's a lot of deals I wouldn't take. I can't find no rationality to it. It's why should I have to even, like I said, to even have to explain why you wouldn't pay $500 for a piece of bazooka bubblegum? I mean, that's what you people are essentially doing. You're paying this extraordinary, preposterous price for absolute crap. And I can't. I'm saying, I'm living with these assholes. I'm living with these retards. They're paying $500 for a piece of bazooka bubblegum. What the fuck are they thinking? I mean, the waste, the silly, preposterous waste. I mean, it's like watching people just burn money right in front of me, which I guess it isn't so bad. So I shouldn't use that as an example, because that just makes my money worth more. But just to waste somebody's labor, just to sit there and pay somebody to show up to work and just walk around in a circle in their front yard in the sun and then go home after 8 hours. I mean, it's like watching people do that, and you're saying, why would they do that? Why would they pay to have somebody walk in a circle like that? I mean, why would they take somebody from their life? Why would they steal their life? Cause them, some level of discomfort and irritation for nothing, for no purpose. It's just a complete waste of a human being's time. And we're wasting suffering. It's just... So anyway, this whole discussion is just so stupid. Why these relativists are out of their fucking minds? This is just such nonsense. We don't need to prove the existence of sentience. We don't have to prove the existence of that all humans are essentially and effectively the same functional device. And this is silly. And to use DNA as your guidepost, as your source of justification, well, it tells me I should survive and that I should procreate. And so I'm just going to do whatever the old molecule tells me, and that's my purpose, and that's my mission, that's my meaning in life. Well, that's just too fucking stupid for words. So anyway, yeah, I just didn't even get that this is what the real root of the problem is that people can't figure out that there's one reality, there's one truth of this whole universe and its function. There's one truth. There isn't 10 truths, there isn't 5,000 truths. These conflicting fables cannot possibly coexist in reality. They are fables, they are stories, they are lies, they are deceptions. They are miscalculations, they are misunderstandings. But they are not the truth. And the whole point is meaning is found in finding an accurate description of the reality of value in our universe. That's all. It's not that complicated. And there's one definition of the real truth. Alright, and this idea that you just make it up is idiotic. This idea that all belief systems are equal is idiotic. Logic is the scale you measure it by. Reasonableness is the scale. And this is just idiotic. I'm sorry, you're an idiot. Piri. You're an idiot. Yeah, that's all I can say. You're an idiot.